Harrison G jumps in. Kyle, can you give some names that haven't been shot down by the Sixers? I'm desperate.
Well, not just me.
For the trade
certainly
slop.
You guys have your
Trade
connections
slop.
as well. Well, I'll tell you who they have shot down so far. Siakam, who already got moved. Levine, who probably not getting moved. Murray, but I that's the one that, as I just said, I'm a little flexible on that
Throwing
one.
cold water on Bruce Brown.
Bruce Brown is another one.
But again, I wouldn't say that's shot down. It's more like cold water.
Yeah, I think between current price and interest level from contenders, other contenders, I should say, and the piece that we talked about previously that don't trust him to shoot, which is more important on a Joel Embiid-centric team than a lot of other teams. I think they're cooler on him than perhaps the marketplace is. So those are the guys I can tell you no on. And in terms of who they might be in on, they are doing a good job of disguising whatever it is they want. I think if we're talking about general needs, I think they believe they need maybe a different option at the big spot. It's something I've been talking about for months, even as Mo Bamba had some good games, Paul Reed. I do think that perhaps there is belief in the building that a big-bodied center. Now, that could be accomplished perhaps with a buyout, or that's not necessarily a trade piece. So that's something I keep an eye on. I'm less concerned, and I think the Sixers probably feel the same way about the backup ball handler stuff. You heard names like DeLon Wright thrown around at different points, so that'd be somebody, a very low-cost option to potentially bring in here. But if you guys are asking me for who are the big fish that are out there that they're in
Lowry
on,
marking into,
Well, do you know who they haven't thrown any cold water on?
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
I did bring that in, folks. I did because
to be clear, I don't think Kyle and I have asked them if they're in on Mikal Bridges because there's an assumption that everyone would be, but I just want to point out the jersey.
Because our PHLY Twitter account said,
we're all trying to find the guy who sent that one.
Time to do some work and some tampering. And I said, you know what? I might have to just wear my jersey or bring it. So I decided not to wear it. I just brought one of my jerseys in. And he had a good game last night. They lost. And it was frustrating, as to the point of the whole tweet where he was talking about how, and we've seen it here, Knick fans coming into town, taking over the arena.
Give Knick fans grief for a lot of things, but they show up and they are loud.
It was bad. Yeah. It was bad. If you were watching that game last night, it was bad to hear anytime the Knicks did anything. It was bad. So I did bring my jersey in for that.
But so with Mikal or guys like Markkanen or like the higher caliber guys. So like we've spent a lot of time talking about on this show, but we've always set it up as it's not really realistic for them to try and go get them. The reason that I think Derek is correct to constantly be like, yeah, I like this guy, but I'm not paying XYZ for him, is because if those opportunities become available, if Mikal plays more games in Brooklyn that Knicks fans overrun and your cousin is just like, I'm sick of this shit, you won't have any opportunity to get in the mix for him if you've blown 2 first-round picks on a trade for an imperfect guy like a Murray, or if you've given up assets to go get Zach LaVine, and then you have his contract attached to the franchise for the next 3-4 years. Like the opportunity cost is an important thing to consider when you're talking about moving for these guys. Now, I get the other side of it too, right? Like my belief, looking at Joel Embiid, the way he's playing right now, is this team should go all in on him. I know we say this every year, and it's like brought it up the other day. Every year he gets better. You're only going to have so many of these types of seasons, and they have the ammo. They have the expiring contracts that those contracts will just come off the books, and somebody's going to have to get paid that money, and the cap space will be gone as soon as July rolls around. So there's some urgency to get something done. I think there's a great argument to be made to go for it and go for it hard. That just doesn't necessarily mean, trading for Murray or Levine or whoever. It might mean get a couple of smaller players and then you still have options later.
I struggle with this so much because what Kyle said is absolutely true. You don't know how many times Joel Embiid is going to be able to average 35 points per game on a 65% true shooting. It just doesn't
probably never again.
It not only doesn't happen every year, it's literally never happened in the history of the sport. You've got these two, Maxey improving to the point where he can be a legitimate running mate. You've only got a couple year window where these two things might overlap. You've got to be aggressive. That being said, in the summer, particularly at the draft, you can have 5 first-round picks to trade. If somebody, maybe Devon's not able to get this done here in the next couple of weeks, but maybe a slow drip over the next couple of months, he can get an ask out in June. Maybe somebody else like Markkanen asks out, what have you. The Sixers will have the ammunition to go really big game hunting next June and next July, not because of the, I think people look at the cap space and who's available. That's not really what you're hunting. You're hunting trades. Having 5 first-round picks to add to Embiid and Maxey, you could see a star going like, get me out of here and get me to Philly. That is certainly not impossible, and you would have the ammunition to trade for it, but you would potentially not waste, because they can contend right now, or at least, well, we'll get into that, or at least we were going to, and we're into it. They can contend with almost anyone in the East right now as is, but you're limiting your upside by trying to keep that open. And if nobody becomes available, then you go, oh shit, like, what is my gain here? But conceding that right now and taking yourself out of the running for the next star to become available is tough. It would be tough to do.
We all silly like the mayor.